could.
As they say in Moldavia, now the buckle's on the other metaphor.
Yeah, that is what they say in Moldova. I've been a few times and heard it countless. Jeez.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. You know, we having a sale. My name's John. His name is Andy.
It is.
So, now I'm up in the courts, pleading my case from the witness box, telling the judge and the jury the same thing that I said to the cops on the day that I got arrested. I'm innocent, I protested. She just feels rejected. Had a hard book of mine like someone she's obsessed with. More on that later. But for now, Andy, what delights do you have in store for us today?
Well, first of all, I didn't know you had.
I hope they're Turkish.
Yeah, I didn't know you had such a sick flow with it there. That was quite a lyrical delivery, John.
I've got skills to pay the bills.
Yeah, well, someone's got to, right? The band is called The Life and Times, and the track by them is called Ice Cream Eyes, of all names. See, I'm assuming no bells or lights are going off on your end right now.
No, not even a comedy honku.
Good.
The first thing I think is Betty Davis eyes, and then immediately I think Dickie Davis eyes. Ice cream eyes. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as it's not rum and raisin, because I fucking hate
that. Dude, anything with raisin, I'm all right on that. But yeah. The Life and Times, Ice Cream Eyes. Let me know what you think, man.
Will do. I really like that. That's a great start. He's kind of vaguely reminiscent of something. I can't put my finger on, just maybe not even a specific song, but something similar. But it's nice. Yeah. Interesting start. And then beat kicks in, it's driving straight away, sounding good. Yeah, I'm liking this. His voice is quite, what would you call it? Sort of quite dated. But I like it. And he got slightly different guitar parts there. When he did his little bit and then it went back into the driving bit, it sounds really good. I think like the bass and the drums together really driving it. Sounds awesome. Just back a wee tad. That little bit there, that sounds 80s as well, in a very cool way, actually. Yeah, nice one. liking these guitars.
Someday soon you'll plan your rampage. I'll wait patiently for you. Ice cream, seems so different. Nothing stays the same. It's true. All those things you thought you never turn my heart. All those things you knew were
This is the second time they've done this little bit where it's kind of sounds almost bridgy. The vocal melody, I'm not getting that at all. Could do quite easily without, but what's going on behind it with the guitars is really nice. And then it did it before and it's doing it again. It goes into this higher bit where there's just no pick in it. It sounds really nice. This is like a mixture of things. I hate to say it, but like modern wise, there's a little bit of kind of Interpol, but it's definitely a bit of U2 from the 80s in this, and other stuff as well that will come to mind in a while. But it's really interesting, actually. I'm enjoying this a lot. Whiz by. Do you know, I was expecting them to jam for a bit longer at the end, to be honest with you. It's a really nice sound. There is a bit of that sort of bright 80s guitar to it as well. But you can tell it's modern because the production is just really full. And sounds quite modern. But yeah, I really want to listen to this again already because it's interesting. It's something there, definitely. I don't know how much I like it, but I like it. Well, we have to find out a bit more about the life and times. So by doing that, we'll have to go back and speak with Andy.
Welcome back. So, what'd you make of this one, man?
This song did make me think, and I'm not quite sure what I think. So we'll go through it, and maybe it'll become clearer to you and me as we talk about it.
Talk our way through this thing, John.
Yes, it's called the talking cure, isn't it? Yes. So we begin with this reverberating chord from an electric guitar, and I'm thinking perhaps it's a slowed down start to Police Truck by Dead Kennedys. I think not.
Nope.
But it has a slight familiarity to it, and I don't think it's that song, but it's maybe something else. But it's not, oh, this is this song, but it's like, oh,
Yeah.
so the waves of this guitar sort of race across the Windermere of my mind. The sort of pseudo question popped into my head. How did the whole do ducks quacks echoes ever get started? And what idiot believed in that the quacks never echoed? You've heard of this, obviously.
No.
It's a big thing that apparently ducks quacks do not echo.
Oh, I had never
Absolute
heard that little
horseshit. They're fucking
backstory.
sound waves, the same as anything else. Of course they echo,
Yeah,
but
one would think. Yeah.
thousands of people believed because someone said it that they didn't. That's what was going through my head when it was going. Ding, 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 ding. Anyway, um, we get a cheeky little shaker that kind of opens the door to the song proper comes in. And I really liked up to that point that really short intro with just the echoing guitar, you know, and it
Yeah.
was like he was slightly moving position each time within the sort of soundscape of your head.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a bit there, then a bit there, then
I could
you
totally
know,
see what you're saying now. I never thought of
yeah,
it
which
like
is
that. Yeah.
quite cool, you know. So
Yeah,
I
it's like it's
really liked it.
teleporting around. The sound is teleporting within your head. Yeah.
Yeah, or it's battleships. E4, miss.
Yeah.
B3 hit. But yeah, really liked it. It was quite interesting and you know, not mind blowing, but I just liked it. It was an inventive way of starting it. So the song bounds to life with a proper coach and horses of the rhythm section. I mean, unbelievable. The bass has got more gallop than Grand National. I mean, it's really
Mhm.
unbelievable. So big tick for the bass. The drums are really energetic, and throughout the song, they do lovely little fills and the sort of expressive elements. Big tick for the drums. The singer's voice has that sort of dated quality to it, and I like it. But more and more, I'm getting these slight sonic 80s references. The vocals, the echoing guitar chords, that bright nature of the guitar as well. And then as we go into the verse and he's singing, we get after about a minute, we get like a mini segue with this expressive guitar, just as a little bit. It's like 10 seconds sort of look, I could do a bit more. And then it goes back into the verse pattern. And as it goes back into the verse pattern, we get extra gallop from the bass and the drums, and it
Yep.
just sounds awesome. And again, quite 80s, but in a very cool way. So we get another verse. There's more shenanigans for the drum and more sort of mini fills and stuff. And then here's the really interesting part. So I did, it's unlike me, but I did write down the times here. So 150, we go into a sort of, I don't know what the chorus is in this song, to be honest with you. And I did miss a 99, I call it 100% of the lyrics. He was singing, I can't remember the words. But so I don't know what the chorus was, but this was kind of, it felt like a pre-chorusy, but almost like a bridge bit as well. Now he does that. I don't really care for the vocal melody at all. Nothing against his voice, So it just didn't like the melody. I didn't like the actual notes he was singing, but the musical side underneath that was great. The guitars became more sort of crashing and elongated chords, and you get a rat tat tat from the drummer a couple of times, and then it goes into this wonderful ringing phase with the guitars as well, which are
Mhm.
like the Westminster chimes, but under martial law. There's a little bit of sort of angst to them as well, which is again, I don't want to say it, but it's quite 80s. I am repeating myself here. I do realize this. And then that leads into the most 80s part of the whole song, which is it drops down. You get that scratching effect, I call it, which is straight from the Edge's playbook.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the echoing records return from the intro more so. I mean, they were there before as well in the first beat. They were, within the mix, whereas now it's just them. And we had a few beats of this with his vocals as well. So I call it isolation, but it's just a guitar and his vocals. And then the Wells Fargo, the rhythm section, pulls around the corner and hauls us into the next verse. And then at 3:15, we get this same bridgy part again. I'm still not a fan of the vocals, the vocal melody, I should say, not the vocals. Um, but the crashing guitars now, I don't know if I didn't notice it before, but I think they got some sort of synthy part in them as well that's just going higher and higher and just backing it out. But they all start smacking into each other, the sort of guitar chords and parts. And it's almost like white water churning around within
Mhm.
something. And then they jam out, sadly, for nowhere near long enough, and the song ends.
I agree.
And this does have a retro feel to it, but it does also have lots of modern touches as well, like the production. Um, there's a lot of U2 in this, and I said in the reaction there's maybe a touch of Interpol as well. That's sort of after the first album, Interpol. But yeah, the whole song just whizzed by. and I really have to listen to it again because I know I like this. I'm just not sure how much I like it.
Right.
Whether it's a lot or a lot, But there is something there which, yeah, I really enjoyed and I appreciated as well. It's cool.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I'm glad you like this one. I thought you might, given what it had little shades of within it, especially musically. So I was like, yeah, let me dig this one up for John. This is an interesting band because um, the sort of the guy behind the band has been in music for a long time. This band itself has been around for a pretty long time, but they've got no commercial success whatsoever at all. They've got a cult following of people who devote themselves to this kind of music, but no major success. They have one of the more scant Wikipedias I've ever scoured. And speaking of scouring, I
We've
did
had a
that.
few of them recently, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. Yeah. But speaking of scouring, I did that to the entire internet and couldn't find any lyrics for this. So I had the joy that you've had in the past of sitting down and transcribing all of these lyrics as best I could, because this is of the genre where the words take a back seat to some of the musical shit that's happening. So it's kind of buried a little bit. And then the another thing about this genre is sort of the laissez-faire attitude that the lyrics are delivered with, just make it hard to even detect as well. So I was really going through this thing with a flea comb, and I think I got probably a 92% on the words. So when I get to them, we will see how I did. I'm sure if there's a follower of this band who comes across this, they could set us straight on some of the things about them and the lyrics included. But yeah, these I've listened to maybe a couple albums from these guys of their entire output. I like a lot of what they're about, but I'm just not on top of everything that they're doing all the time. And it's been a while since they put anything out as well. So let's get into the band, shall we? The Life and Times, they are an American indie rock band. Well, indie, that's just such a broad term. Indie rock band from Kansas City, Missouri, but currently they operate out of Chicago, Illinois. They've been active since 2002 and were formed by the former Shiner frontman, Alan Epley. So Shiner was I think a math rock kind of band that he splintered off of, and he was with them for a pretty long time. And then went and started these guys in the early 2000s, and they're still together now. But the band has seen a fair amount of turnover as it relates to their members. Originally, they formed as a four-piece. The band consisted of Alan Epley on guitar and vocals, Rob Smith on guitar, not to be mistaken for Robert Smith, John Meredith on bass and strings, and Mike Myers, not to be mistaken for the former SNL member and Austin Powers actor, on drums.
And serial killer.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Very cool.
And three of those members would leave the band. So the band's current lineup, which is now operating as a three-piece, consists of Epley, Eric Abert on bass, and Chris Metcalf on drums. To date, they've released 5 studio albums and 5 EPs. And their sound has been described as alternative rock, post-hardcore, space rock, and shoegaze. And some of their songs lean more into certain elements of that, but I think even here you can pick up on some of that throughout this track. Some of their influences include bands that we've covered on this channel, including Sunny Day Real Estate and REM, but they've also included a band called Jawbox. Though their output has been compared to that of the band Failure and the band Hum, also two bands that we've covered on this channel. Forgive me. This particular track, Ice Cream Eyes, comes off their 2014 release, an album called Lost Bees, which I think the thumbnail said when you were watching the video. The Alternative Press wrote of the album, Lost Bees is a dark, driving affair, and its versatility bolstered by almost random spots of chance familiarity, which is interesting because you definitely experienced some chance familiarity in this song, and refreshing take on a beloved nerdy rock niche makes it another enjoyable addition of Epley's sizable portfolio. In his article on the album for Sloucher, Sam Valdez Lopez writes of the band, whenever I'm asked to define what this band sounds like, I say soaring flight, mad nosedive, because rise, flight, and fall are all actions that come to mind when you think of the dynamics of their music. And of this song specifically, he would say the act of rising is well covered in the faster moods of Lost Bees. Ice Cream Eyes has the rhythm section overcasting everything else to give your head a good sprint, with Eric Abert providing one of the finest bass lines of 2014. Lost Bees is terminal velocity increasing exponentially to allow Chris Metcalf on drums to do what he does best. So they're calling out two of the featured players that you initially called out as well, and with good reason. I mean, that bass line is really sick, and together with the drums, just drive this song the whole way through from start to.
Yeah,
I mean, well,
exactly.
once that echo effect guitar stops being the feature, it's just rhythm section until dawn.
Yeah.
He summed up his review with this: In Lost Bees, the long journey of the life and time seems to still sport that catharsis that fuels on nostalgic emotions, using a few different approaches to their music without ever really losing the feeling that drives them. And a reviewer on Album of the Year sums up their first experience listening to this album, and I couldn't help but agree with it, so I had to include it here because I had a very similar experience when I came across these guys. And honestly, I came across these guys in such a silly way. Like, I literally Googled in like 2015 or 2016 bands that sound like Hum, because I wanted to find other music that gave me that sort of sound. And this was in a Reddit. These guys were in a Reddit thread. So, and they were named a couple times. So I then went and started YouTubing and looking them up on Spotify and stuff like that. And that's how I came across them. And in this anecdote that I'm going to read, it's kind of similar. When I first saw this after hitting random, I almost brushed it off and pressed random again. But something stuck with me. Good God, am I happy I didn't turn away, because this was an absolute gem. There's a great balance between lush intros and absolute walls of sound. They fit so stunningly well together, transition great, and it sounds so full. I absolutely adore it. The guitar fuzz tone and low end bass allow most of these tracks to flourish. The vocals are drowned in the mix, and which made fucking lyric identifying really difficult. The vocals are drowned in the mix and weave in and out of the music so flawlessly and beautifully too. It's albums like this why I press the random album generator in hopes of finding hidden albums like it. So yeah, happy accidents, as they say. And my experience discovering this band was very similar about 8-9 years ago. So these lyrics that I had to piece together as best I could.
As they say in Moldavia, now the buckle's on the other metaphor.
Yeah, that is what they say in Moldova. I've been a few times and heard it countless. She's,
I feel no sympathy whatsoever.
Yeah, I know you don't. I know you don't. Because I've laughed and been like, dude, you really didn't have to go to those lengths. And now because you have, I felt obligated to. So look at what you've started.
That's my only one.
You damn overachiever. She's freezing summer, tastes like burning. I'll be waiting here for you. Ice cream eyes and waxy faces. Something's clearly changed in you. All those things you thought you knew turned to mud in front of you. All those things you knew were true. Now you notice time elapsing. Friends aren't recognizing you. It's what you knew would stay forever. I will explain it all to you. Because all those lines you've memorized, because that shit had compromised, all those things you knew were true, and I will be waiting here for you, and I'll be the whisper in your ear. Now separate here. Someday soon, you'll plan your rampage. I'll wait patiently for you. Ice cream eyes, you seem so different. Nothing stays the same, it's true, because all those things you thought you knew turned to mud in front of you. Because all those things you knew were true, but I'll be waiting for you here. I'll be the whisper in your ear, and I will say this slow and clear. There's something wrong here.
Now, I wasn't sure, and I'm still not. I only got one thing. So, ice cream eyes, and then he said about the mud and everything. I got this picture of almost like a snowman melting. And then you said, I'll be the whisper in your ear. And Whisper is the name of a chocolate bar in this country. And I was just picturing this chocolate bar.
I see
Ear.
John right now connecting all the threads at the board. You know, he's got
And I just couldn't
Abraham
get
Lincoln
over.
and Bigfoot.
Yeah. Finally. It all makes sense. Grassy knoll my ass.
It's this goddamn chocolate bar.
It's quite very downbeat lyrics, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They are. Even if I
yeah.
don't understand every metaphor that's being used or
Right.
specifically the content. I mean, I hear ice cream eyes and waxy faces, and I think like this I don't know, naivety. Like ice cream eyes and a waxy smiley face. And I
Oh, I
think,
was thinking mortician slap.
oh, okay. Well,
That's how our minds work once again.
yeah, there we go. You dark son of a bitch. You guys so dark with it. I'm like, oh yeah, he's probably judging someone for being naive about things, and you're like, no, they're dead. That's a description of a dead corpse. Oh,
See, ice cream comes in many forms. You've got from like Mr. Whippy, that sort of to sort of like that proper thick ice cream, and then you've got melted ice cream as well.
yeah,
I mean, you're talking about like melted, like milky eyes or whatever, as in death,
yeah.
and a wax face. I can't help it.
You should really sit down with someone. This
And
is
use their skin as a hat. Yes.
yes, exactly. Oh no, but they are dark lyrics, and they're really interesting and in their own way evocative, even if you don't know exactly what is being depicted or discussed therein. But yeah, I found the almost kind of weird, broody nature of the lyrics to be one more thing that kind of drew me to the
Yeah.
song. I mean, there were bits of this where I knew what he was saying before I started like penning them down. It was some of them that I hadn't really thought of or focused on in the past that became like, what is he saying? As I did this earlier. But yeah, and then I think the music complements it so well. It's interesting. I hadn't thought about this, having heard this song, probably a healthy double-digit amount of times. The sort of edge-like guitar that's happening in certain parts of it, that little picky stuff that's
Yeah.
happening underneath is right out of like the Edge's playbook. I don't know if that was something that they actively were pursuing when they were writing this, but it ended up like that. That's for sure. And
Yeah.
you sort of, it's always fun when someone who hasn't heard the song at all hears it for the first time and tells someone who's heard it several times something that they themselves hadn't noticed when they've listened to it. So that's really
I
cool.
mean, there's plenty of other people who do that. It's just in terms of the Edge is the first person I heard doing that. So
Yeah, yeah. And
he's
the
prominent.
Edge was a contemporary with some of the acts that I said were influential to them. So I'm sure that even though it didn't outrightly say U2, I'm sure he grew up listening to a lot of U2 stuff, and it just made
Yeah.
its way into his songwriting. But yeah, really interesting, underrated band. I don't know, underrated, underappreciated. They probably aren't rated at all because not enough people know about them. But yeah, certainly underappreciated.
Underexposed.
Yeah, with 5 albums, all of which have some really like varying degrees good material on them. I thought it would be a good. We're gonna get shit views on this, but I thought it would be a really cool band
Yeah.
and song to bring to the table. So I'm
No,
glad you.
definitely.
Yeah.
It was the ones where sometimes you get a gut reaction to something. You say, I'm going to like this, or I'm going to struggle with this, or whatever. And this one's more like, oh, this makes me stop and think because there were certain different elements to it.
Yeah.
And I really like songs like that.
Cool. Well, I hope if you do go back to it and give it another listen, you better understand, like you better understand where you fall or where it falls with you, because it sounds like you're sort of in the I know I like it, but I just don't know how much kind of territory, which is kind of fun too on a first listen because it instantly means you're gonna have to listen to it again at some point, right? To test those waters. So John, thank you so much for giving a listen. Guys out there, let us know what you think of the Life and Times. If you've heard of these guys before, if you haven't, how you thought they sounded. If you think they sounded like anybody else you've heard, I think John had a really good observation with the Edge reference. We'd be interested to hear more. So if you got them, drop them in the comments field or anything else you feel compelled to drop in there. Just be kind to us and each other. That's all we ask. We are humans. Also, feel free to like, share, and subscribe if you'd be so kind. We're trying to expand the channel as we have been over the last year, and we can year plus at this point, and we can't do that without you guys, and we really, really do appreciate it. And hopefully, John and I will see all y'all in growing numbers in the next installment of the Audiophiles. See you later, guys.